What's happening, Who Dat Nation? Video number 2 of the day. The video we put out earlier was a part of our live show from yesterday, but there's some important news and rumors to discuss. But before we get there, I want to go down and have everyone hit the thumbs up icon for Saints legend Reggie Bush's birthday today. We're not going to ask for 25 likes because that's a low number. So let's get 250 likes for the GOAT's birthday. Happy birthday, Reggie Bush. Hit the thumbs up icon. Like I said, my name is Trey Girouard, and we are going to be getting into today's Saints news and rumors. I will be joined by Abby Alonzo here shortly, but we have some news to discuss on Alvin Kamara. So, pretty bad not update, but pretty interesting update to say the least. There has been an update that Alvin Kamara pleads not guilty in Las Vegas for his battery case. The trial will be on July 31st. And this is important because the charges that he is facing right now are conspiracy to commit battery and battery resulting in substantial bodily harm. The victim, as we know, is seeking about $10 million in money for damages. And the trial is set to take place during the Saints training camp. This is something that we're going to be monitoring. This is something that we want to keep a strong eye or keep a tight eye on because we have no idea when updates are going to be coming in. They just kind of pop up as they do. There was a court date today with Alvin Kamara. They tried to get a court date in a few weeks, or in June, or in mid to early June. However, they were not able to find a date that worked for all parties. So before I bring Abby Alonzo in today, I want you guys to weigh in and let me know. Alvin Kamara will be suspended blank games in 2023. Fill in the blank for me. We have a lot to discuss in today's show, and I'm really excited to have Abby join me. So you might get hit with the YouTube ad break right here. Take advantage of it. Let me know who or how many games you think that Alvin Kamara will be suspended. All right, and to discuss further in today's show, I'm welcoming in Abby Alonzo. We're going to be reacting to ESPN predicting the starting quarterbacks for every team. Plus, we're going to talk about the Saints possibly drafting Anthony Richardson. So this is an interesting one. The ESPN Big J journalists, the idiots that they have over there, they got together and they put their lack of brain, if you want to call it a brain, they came together and said their prediction for the Saints starting quarterback in 2023 is Baker Mayfield. Not going to say I disagree on that. I'm just going to say I think that ESPN in the past has been spotty at best on some of this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not really, I don't make the decisions. I'm just kind of reacting to it. But we wanted to get here and react to it. Abby, if you want to explain what ESPN had to say about the starting quarterbacks.
So this is their explanation. The Saints were the first known Carr suitor, hosting him on his lone visit before his release from Las Vegas. That visit was a strong enough indication of interest, but since a trade didn't materialize, competition for Carr's services comes into play. Though he has had plenty of rough stretches over his career, Mayfield showed well in a small sample size with the Rams late last season. He's an imperfect player, but I truly believe quarterback context matters. When put in a system with capable coaching, competent playmakers, and savvy game planning, Mayfield can help you win. Jameis Winston is under contract, but he was replaced by Andy Dalton, who is now a free agent.
Yeah, and so this is an interesting observation from ESPN. I can't say I disagree with some of that. I mean,
Right.
If you go back to what he did against the Rams, it was somewhat impressive. That 98-yard game-winning drive at the very end
With the Rams against the Raiders.
Yeah, or against the Raiders, excuse me. Yes, that was pretty impressive. He clearly shows that he can still ball and he can still game. His stats this past year, 60 completion percentage, 2,100 yards in the air, 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He played 7 games with Carolina, 5 games with the Rams. If you remember, he was a part of the team that beat the Saints at the beginning of the regular season. It stinks. It is unfortunate. However, it be like that. It's one of those situations. What are you going to do at the end of the day? I hate to say it, but I think that Baker wouldn't be a bad option. I just think that there is a lot better options, and I think that the Saints should try and go and get that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I'm a little taken aback because it feels like Derek Carr is going to end up in New Orleans, and you would think these big networks felt the same. So do they know something that we don't know is what's going through my head. Not that I am like completely against Baker Mayfield. He did do some good things in LA. Like, that's not something I am outraged about. Oh my gosh, Baker Mayfield to New Orleans, terrible idea. That's not what I'm saying. I think I've been on this. I'm kind of gearing myself up and preparing for Derek Carr to kind of take over because that's what it feels like is happening. And then you see this and you're like, wait a minute, what's going on?
Absolutely. I agree with all of that. So, guys, we want to get the pulse of the Who Dat Nation because at the end of the day, the show isn't about us. It's all about y'all. Do you want the Saints to go and sign Baker Mayfield in NFL free agency? Type S for sign, type P for pass. And while you're down there, please go and subscribe. Like I said earlier, this is the second video of the day because we ain't scared of hard work. We ain't scared of getting into the studio and grinding this video out and making some good content for you guys. So be sure to subscribe. That way you can lock us in, turn on notifications, because if there's any sort of notable updates around Derek Carr, around the New Orleans Saints, anything like that, we're going to make a video. If it's big enough, we're going to go live for it, and I promise you don't want to miss out on that. So be sure to subscribe and lock us in today.
So these are ESPN's notable quarterback predictions, and it's kind of funny, ironic that they have Derek Carr landing in Carolina with the Panthers, where we know Baker Mayfield was before the Rams. It's kind of all coordinated and kind of linked up here. But Derek Carr to the Panthers, which still just, it's not clicking in my head, but whatever. Jimmy G to the Jets, which has been a rumor that's been going around for a minute. He's kind of been placed in a lot of different areas, along with Aaron Rodgers, which they have him staying in Green Bay. That kind of has my mind spinning a little bit because he just came out and said, you know, he would rather let people know early than make a decision early, which kind of gave the hint that he's going to let Green Bay know he's not going back to Green Bay so that they can get their ducks in a row earlier than later. But I mean, if ESPN is saying he's staying in Green Bay, then there goes the Vegas rumors and the New York rumors and even the Tennessee rumors at one point. And okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I feel like a lot of teams are waiting to see what happens with Aaron Rodgers. Like, they're wanting to see what his decision is, and then that's going to set the snowball effect for these other teams to go and get their quarterbacks. And, like, I honestly think that the Panthers are not going to go the Derek Carr route. They do have a high draft pick. I think that they could either look to go get a quarterback early in the draft or maybe even look to try and trade up to go and get a top guy like a CJ Stroud or that Will Levis guy. I think that it's an interesting scenario. I think it's an interesting situation to monitor. That being said, we're going to keep our eyes out on it. And you guys can, and if there's anything you guys want to bet on, it's that we're going to keep you covered. And if you want to bet on anything else throughout the rest of the NFL offseason, you like that transition, check us out at chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code CHAT125. Get started with our official sportsbook partner in BetUS. It's the #1 spot to go game and go lay down some cheddar. I got on there. I wanted to see what was going on around the Pels, so I said, let's see what the odds to win the Western Conference are. Right now it has the Phoenix Suns at plus 235. They obviously just traded for KD. We'll see how that pans out, and we'll see how that goes. Denver Nuggets, plus 350. Could Jokic keep the thing rolling? Could he keep the ball rolling? And could he make it to the Western Conference Finals and get to an NBA Finals? Golden State Warriors, you can never count them out. Steph's one of the best three-point shooters in the game. He is one of the most dynamic players in the game right now. And then New Orleans Pelicans at plus 2,500. I don't know what happened. It's one of the biggest collapses in NBA history. I mean, it just feels like everyone was so high on the Pels because they were doing so damn well. And everyone was excited because it was like, oh, well, the Saints are not doing that well. Well, at least the Pelicans are. And here we are. But
7-20 in their last 27.
It's a joke, man. That's brutal. That's just brutal. But if you want to go lay down some cheddar on any of this, go get started at chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code CHAT125. All right, and now to discuss Anthony Richardson. So the Saints are actually going to be meeting with the former Florida quarterback at the NFL Combine, which is going on right now. It's going to be pretty high priority for the Saints to go and talk to all these quarterbacks, such as a CJ Stroud, a Bryce Young, a Will Levis. Don't be surprised when they talk to all the top guys, but I think that it is actually pretty realistic where an Anthony Richardson could end up falling to 29. That being said, the more time goes on, the higher his draft stock has seemed to rise. And here's just a list of the interviews that he has scheduled in Indianapolis. So he has one with the Colts, the Panthers, the Falcons. Both of those last two teams are disgusting. The Las Vegas Raiders, the New Orleans Saints, and the New England Patriots. And when we talk about Anthony Richardson, Abby, we talk about a guy who brings a lot of dual threat ability, a lot of big play opportunity, and a very dynamic weapon to an offense. Last season, I mean, the stats are pretty impressive. We'll call it for what it is, 53.8 completion percentage. I personally want to see a little bit more, but when he's dual threat, you can kind of write that off a little bit. But 2,500 yards in the air, 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. But then, like we said, dual threat ability, 103 carries, 654 yards, 9 touchdowns on the ground. Notably, though, his first 3 weeks did not pass for a touchdown, which to me is a big concern because I think that the Saints have to prioritize going and getting a quarterback that isn't going to just be a guy that sticks around for a year. He's got to, or a couple of years. Mm-hmm. He's got to be a cornerstone piece, a future building piece, somebody that you can rely on for a long time. In a perfect world, you go get your Drew Brees replacement. We haven't been able to do that right now, or up until this point. Jameis Winston clearly didn't work out. Andy Dalton's clearly not it. You had Trevor Siemian, you had Taysom Hill, you had Ian Book. I mean, you had the Island of Misfit Toys going at your starting quarterback position. I like Anthony Richardson. I like his athletic ability. I just don't know if I'm sold on him as my top quarterback prospect. And also, like I said, I don't know if he falls to 29 because he just keeps climbing.
I like that you said that because as time goes on, you hear his name more and more, and there's more kind of buzz around him. And I think people are starting to kind of look at him and move him up in those mock drafts. Mm-hmm. And there's so many teams that need quarterbacks right now that for him to fall to 29 would surprise me. If it happened, again, this is not a scenario where I'm like, this shouldn't happen. This is the worst thing they could do. Not at all. I do think the better option would be bringing in a veteran, whether it be Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, and kind of allowing a transition to take place. Yeah. You're not just going from the island of misfit toys, as you called it, to a new kid on the block trying to lead this organization back to success. I think there needs to be a transition phase that I think comes with a vet kind of leading the team for maybe a couple years, and then the kid you draft. Maybe it's Anthony Richardson, maybe it's Hendon Hooker, and I'm just going to keep saying that to put good juju out there, speak it into existence, to kind of learn from that vet that is brought in. Absolutely. And then take over the franchise. Is it Anthony Richardson? I don't know. I don't see him falling to 29. I could be wrong, but I don't see that happening.
Absolutely. And we put our very wrinkly, very smart, very impressive brains together, and we decided that these 4 options are our top quarterback 1 options for the Saints going into 2023. If you disagree, let us know in the comment section of who you like, but the top 3, and this is in no particular order, it's just here's the 4 options that we like the most. Derek Carr being number 1. Jameis Winston, you run it back with him. Let's not pretend and let's not forget, like, the locker room didn't love Jameis Winston. The team was bought in. They saw him as a leader.
Yes.
If you disagree and you think that I'm wrong here, I encourage you to go listen to the Trust Levels podcast that Cam Jordan and Mark Ingram do. They had Jameis Winston on it last year.
Great podcast.
And that alone shows what Jameis Winston meant to the team. So that's why I continue to say he's a big part of that locker room. Baker Mayfield, a solid but very cheap free agent quarterback I think you could go get to be the bridge guy like you were saying, Abby. And then also honorable mention, whoever gets drafted at quarterback, I don't think the Saints get out of the second round without a quarterback. Maybe you don't address it in the first, but you more than likely address it in the second if you don't go in the first round.
I do want to say this, though. Don't sleep on that 2024 quarterback class.
That's true, too.
That's
also true.
They might be holding out this year and fixing the other issues and grabbing somebody in free agency.
That's true.
To wait on that class because that 2024 class is arguably better than the class for this draft class. So they're cooking. We don't know what they're cooking, but it smells kind of good. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Well, and then when there's any cooking going on in Louisiana, you know it's going to be
I'm
straight
hungry
fire.
right
You know
now,
it's going to be
sorry.
straight fire. But anyway, guys, before we head on out of here and get our weekend started, let us know, who do you want the starting quarterback to be in 2023? As always, feel free to hit any of us up. I'm at TraceGirouard48 on Twitter and Instagram. Abby, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Abigail_Alonzo.
All right, awesome. We'll have the links in the comment section and the description of this video to follow both of us. Who Dat Nation, y'all stay golden. We'll catch you next time.